All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to boot up an operating system, but not for a computer. This is one that claims to be the blueprint for reality itself. So think about that for a second. What if everything around you, what if it wasn't just chaos? What if it was all running on some kind of cosmic source code? That's exactly the idea we're digging into today. It's a fascinating and, let's be honest, really controversial metaphysical framework. So what we're going to do is deconstruct this whole system from the ground up. Think of it like we've just found a piece of alien software, and we're going to see what makes it tick, what it actually does, and what it might mean for, well, everything. Okay, so first things first. Before we can even get into the code, we need the password, right? We need to know how anyone even accessed this information in the first place. And the key, according to this system, is a very specific, unique kind of hypnosis. Now, this isn't the kind of hypnosis you're probably thinking of, for quitting smoking or something. That stuff usually happens in a light alpha brainwave state. Cannon's method, which is called Quantum Healing Hypnosis, or QHHT, was designed to go way deeper. The whole point is to get to the theta brainwave state. That's the zone you're in during deep meditation or right as you're dreaming. The idea is to basically put the conscious, analytical, chatterbox part of your mind to sleep. And getting to that theta state isn't just a matter of luck. It's a very precise, three-step process. It's almost like running a command line script to log into the mind's secret server. You've got the cloud construct to kind of lift the consciousness out of the body. Then, the staircase algorithm takes it deeper and deeper. And finally, you arrive at the garden interface, which acts like a user menu, a place where you can start accessing files, or in this case, what the system calls past life data. And this right here is maybe the most crucial part of the whole setup. We have to completely redefine the word subconscious. We're not talking about Freud's idea of a basement full of repressed memories. No, in this system, the subconscious is actually the superconscious. It's the oversoul. Think of it as the system administrator for your own life, with root access to literally everything: your past, your present, and all your potential futures. Okay, so now that we're logged in, let's open up the first file directory, history. We're going to see how this system completely reframes some pretty major historical events, and even fills in a few famous missing pieces. Take the Essenes, for example. Mainstream history sees them as this isolated monastic sect who hid the Dead Sea Scrolls. But according to information from a subject who claimed to be an Essene teacher, that's not the whole story. In this version, they ran this incredibly sophisticated university, a library of knowledge. And, get this, two of their most famous alleged students were Jesus and John the Baptist. This account claims to fill in their missing years, painting them not just as prophets, but as highly trained initiates of this ancient school. The system doesn't just look at the past. It also claims to interact with figures from it. A huge part of Cannon's work was dedicated to decoding Nostradamus, and through these sessions, they identified his famous 3 antichrists. The first 2 are pretty clear historical figures, Napoleon and Hitler. But the third one, a figure they call Mabus, is described as a threat that is still active, still pending. And the prophecy states that his death would be the trigger for a massive global conflict. And this right here, this quatrain is a really big deal for people who follow this work. Her subjects, who believed they were channeling Nostradamus himself, decoded this. 45 degrees, they said, was the latitude of New York City, the great new city. And the burning sky? Well, they interpreted that as a direct prediction of the 9/11 attacks. For a lot of people, this was the moment this all went from fascinating theory to something they saw as proven fact. Okay, so that's the history folder. Now let's get even deeper. Let's try and decompile the universe's source code itself, the fundamental laws of reality according to this blueprint. At the absolute core of this entire operating system is one single concept: the source. The idea is that in the beginning, there was just one single, unified consciousness. And in its own big bang, it shattered itself into countless tiny sparks, which we call souls. And why? To go out, have unique experiences, and then bring all that data, all that learning, back to the mainframe. So in this model, our sense of being separate is just an illusion. The whole game is about gathering experience and eventually returning to that unity. This all takes place in what Cannon called the convoluted universe. And in this universe, time is not a straight line. Just forget that idea. Past, present, future, they're all happening simultaneously, right now. And every single decision you make doesn't just change your path, it creates an entirely new, branching, parallel reality. This is also the secret to how healing is supposed to work in this system. You don't just remember a past trauma. You literally go back to the event in the now, where it's still happening, and you rewrite the code. Okay, and this next part is, well, it's probably one of the most controversial ideas in the entire system. The theory goes that in order to conserve what you might call soul processing power, reality is populated by what are called backdrop people. Essentially, non-player characters, or NPCs. They're described as sort of holographic fillers. They look real, they act real, but they don't have that spark of the source, that higher self, that soul. So, if this is the source code, and these are the rules of the game, what's the point of it all? What's the master plan here? According to the material, it's all leading to one thing: a massive system upgrade for planet Earth. The story goes that to help humanity and the planet make this huge shift in consciousness, what they call moving from 3D to 5D reality, 3 different waves of volunteer souls came to Earth. The first wave, from the late 40s to the 60s, were the icebreakers. Their job was to start chipping away at old, rigid systems. The second wave, in the 70s and 80s, were like antennas. Their job wasn't to do much, but just to be here and anchor a new, higher vibration. And the third wave, from the 90s on, are the builders. They supposedly came in with upgraded DNA hardware, ready to actually build this so-called new Earth. And this planetary upgrade isn't just some abstract spiritual idea. It's meant to have very real physical side effects. Things like heart palpitations, ringing in the ears, sudden changes in what you can eat. The system claims these aren't random ailments. They're signs that your body's own frequency is literally increasing, that your biology is being converted from a carbon-based form to a crystalline-based one, so you can handle these new energies. All right, so that's the system in a nutshell. But to be thorough, we have to run a diagnostic scan. We need to look at both the potential features and the potential bugs of this entire blueprint. Now, let's be super clear. This stuff is way, way outside of mainstream science. But you can find some really interesting parallels in theoretical physics. For instance, the OR theory plays with the idea of consciousness existing at a quantum level outside the brain. You've got experiments in retrocausality that suggest the future can influence the past, which sounds a lot like that all time is now concept. And of course, the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics provides a scientific framework for branching parallel realities. On the flip side, the skeptical bug report is pretty significant. First, there's cryptomnesia. Is it possible these subjects aren't remembering past lives, but are just subconsciously recalling bits and pieces from books, movies, and things they've heard over their lifetime? Then there's the issue of suggestibility. In a deep hypnotic state, are the hypnotist's questions accidentally creating the answers? It's a real risk of a feedback loop. And maybe the biggest critique of all, a lot of this is completely unfalsifiable. How can you ever prove the New Earth theory wrong? If nothing changes, the explanation is just that it's happening in another dimension you can't see. And if a theory can't be proven false, it's just not science. So in the end, we're not left with a clean answer. We're left with a really big, provocative question. Is the point of a blueprint like this whether or not it's literally, factually true, or is its real value found in its function? Does it work as a powerful alternative map for navigating reality? A story that gives people a sense of purpose and meaning in a world that can often feel completely random? That's really the final question, and it's one you have to answer for yourself.